Hello and welcome to the latest in Enlit Asia's interview series. I'm delighted to be joined today by Dr. Yosapol Rathamarit, who is a Level 9 engineer with the Electricity Generating Authority of Thailand, or EGAT as it's widely known. EGAT is, I'm sure most of you will know, the national utility responsible for electric power generation and transmission, as well as bulk electric energy sales in Thailand. Dr. Yosapol joins me today to discuss EGAT's hydrogen project and where he feels hydrogen has a role to play in Thailand's energy future. If you haven't seen it yet, yesterday we hosted a live webinar entitled Unlocking the Potential of Hydrogen Across APAC, in which Kun Narin Phawanij, the director of EGAT's Power Plant Engineering Division, joined us and shared some insights. A recording of this is available on the Enlit Asia website. This conversation today will provide us a slightly deeper look at hydrogen in Thailand, and specifically the ongoing hydrogen project Dr. Yosapol is working on. Dr. Yosapol, thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you very much also for inviting me to speak up for this topic.
You're working on a hydrogen project for EGAT, but before we get into that, what's driven EGAT's interest in hydrogen?
Well, hydrogen, as you know, is a new form of energy that everyone is exploring. So as a utility company who deals in energy, we are very interested in finding if there's any potential use for hydrogen in the electrical utility business. Okay.
Yeah, makes sense. Can you talk us briefly through the project that you're currently working on?
Well, we have done a project in the northeast of Thailand with what we would call a hybrid power plant. We are using wind energy to produce hydrogen gas and actually storing that energy as hydrogen gas so that we can use it to produce electricity whenever there is a need for more electricity demand in the system. So we're basically using it for grid stabilization and grid support, let's say that.
Okay. And what are the longer term intentions for this project?
Our long-term intention is actually hydrogen is a new technology. Of course, with every new technology, there is a learning curve. So we do expect that at some point in the future, hydrogen will be involved as a main energy, as one of the energy alternatives, let's say that. So for our intention basically is that we do not want to have the steep learning curve when the technology comes into use. So we want to gain a better foothold in this area, gain more experience and understanding of the concepts and technologies so that once this technology becomes more widespread in the future, EGAT will be ready to take advantage of it.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you're primarily currently looking at hydrogen as a form of grid stabilization
Yes.
in the same way that EGAT already uses battery storage.
Yes.
Are you able to tell us a little bit about the achievements of the project so far? How successful has it been? What have you found out?
So EGAT has started this project since 2015. We have been running it, testing it since 2018-19, and which is actually this is one of the first projects in Southeast Asia to be using renewable energy to produce hydrogen gas and using that hydrogen gas to produce electricity into the grid. So we are one of the first in Southeast Asia to have shown that it is possible, the concept is viable, that we can use wind energy to produce hydrogen gas, renewables to produce hydrogen gas, and then use that gas to produce electricity whenever there is a demand. And we actually are using that electricity right now to supply a building inside the area, showing that actually we can prove that we can use an energy storage system such as hydrogen to ensure that we can get a stable supply that we can run any type of load in the grid. So we are actually showing that we can use an energy storage system with renewables to give a constant and controllable supply of energy into the system. We can manage the renewables using hydrogen. That's what we have shown.
Okay. And how will the project help dictate EGAT's next steps in terms of further exploring opportunities with hydrogen? Is it going to be developing fuel cells for grid support, or do you think it might direct it elsewhere?
For right now, I believe that the project that we have has shown that it's viable to use hydrogen for grid support. However, the cost of the electricity produced from hydrogen is still quite high right now from the information that we have. And thus, as a main source of energy, I think that EGAT finds that hydrogen is not yet the alternative energy that can be used instead of other fossil fuels, let's say that. So right now, in terms of how we view that we can use hydrogen, we find that there is a niche. That is the case for there is a niche in terms of grid support in cases of emergencies where we have a loss of power plants for the grid and we have an urgent need for electrical energy into the system. In that case, we find that hydrogen can help support the grid, and the cost of the electricity that is produced is reasonable compared to the need for it at that moment. Let's say that. So
Right. Okay.
hydrogen does have a future, but not a main one. Let's say as a support for electrical utilities when there is a very urgent need for energy in the system.
Sure.
Yep.
Sure. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Is hydrogen as a form of energy storage supporting the grid where you see the most potential for hydrogen in the near future for EGAT?
I think as of the current situation right now, I think that hydrogen as a term, as support for the grid, is probably the main use in the near term. However, if the cost of fossil fuels goes up, then the use of hydrogen will be more competitive with fossil fuels. So
Right.
then at that point, we do believe that hydrogen will have a bigger role in terms of being used to produce electricity. Let's say that.
Right. Okay. Okay.
And one other thing that we want to achieve with fuel cells is greater reliability. Let's say that. So in terms of price, there are two main concerns when we look at you producing electricity for the grid. One is the price, and second is the availability. So for availability, we need a reliable system. And if hydrogen is proven to be reliable, to be able to produce energy whenever we need it, then we do see a future for it in the long term.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So compared to the current battery storage solutions that EGAT is using, how do you see hydrogen fuel cells stack up against these? And what makes hydrogen a better option here in your view, if it indeed is a better option?
Compared to batteries, let's say between the two technologies, there is greater use of batteries, which I do understand because batteries have higher efficiency. Mm-hmm. You can produce, you can store more. You lose less energy when you store electricity in batteries compared to hydrogen. Hydrogen has a greater loss as heat when you store it as energy. So right now, compared to batteries, hydrogen is less efficient. However, when you consider other factors such as the environmental impact and stuff like that, I think that hydrogen is very competitive because batteries you can use up to something like 5 to 10 years. But after that, you have to throw it away. And the cost of disposal of a large amount of batteries and its replacement over the lifetime of its use does increase the price of the whole system. Hydrogen, on the other hand, is mostly made, fuel cells, electrolyzers are mostly made of recyclable materials. So the cost of disposal, the cost on the environmental impact through its whole lifetime, I think is very comparable to batteries right now. Let's say that.
Okay. So as hydrogen's efficiency improves, it's balanced against batteries.
Yes, as its efficiency and its we can see two parts where it will become more comparable to batteries. Right now, its total cost is over the whole lifetime is comparable. Okay. Efficiency improvements and reliability and lifetime improvements will also make hydrogen more competitive to batteries. If you can use a battery for 5 years, 10 years, and you can use a hydrogen system without having to do a lot of maintenance or change the whole system for 20 years, it also makes it more competitive price-wise. So lifetime and efficiency are the two main factors that would drive hydrogen to be more competitive to batteries.
Sure. Okay. Okay. I think that one of the things that stands out about hydrogen is the multitude of potential uses for hydrogen. What about other uses for hydrogen in power generation as a gas blend and transportation? What is the potential for these in Thailand from your perspective?
Uh, in terms of the near term right now, I think that the main issue with going to use wider use of hydrogen is the infrastructure that we have to build up for a hydrogen economy. If we are going to use hydrogen for transportation, we do need infrastructure for the hydrogen stations to fill up the cars and stuff like that. If we want to use it as a gas blend, then we have to increase the infrastructure of the natural gas pipelines in Thailand, which right now is more or less limited to industrial use. It's unlike other countries where there's domestic and industrial use also. So in terms of the near future, in terms of cost of investment, I think that using it as a gas blend is the more cost-effective solution right now. If we are to change into a hydrogen economy right now to Thailand, the cost of investment will be kind of massive, and we will need a lot of government support to be able to achieve that. So my understanding right now is that using hydrogen into blend as a gas blend, injecting it into mixing it with natural gas is the more cost-effective solution right now. It's something that can be done easier than building up a new hydrogen infrastructure for transportation.
Sure. Okay. Okay. So looking forward then, do you foresee a time when hydrogen plays a significant role in generation or grid stability? And what would have to change for us to get to that point? Is it, as we've discussed on the grid stabilization side, the storage side, all about the efficiency, or what else would have to change for us to get to a point?
As I said earlier, number one would be for generation would probably be price and reliability of the system. So if we can actually the price of its price becomes competitive with natural gas in terms of the amount of heating energy that we can get, and then the reliability. Because the issue with actually using hydrogen compared to other forms of generation is that you can build a power plant using coal, using natural gas, and you can actually run it for 25, 30 years without actually having to change a whole lot of parts, let's say that, the main generation parts. But with hydrogen, the lifetime right now is, for fuel cells, is usually 10,000 hours, or slightly more, I would say that.
Okay.
And comparatively wise, if you're going to run it 24 hours a day, then its lifetime is only going to be no more than 2 years. So right now, that's an issue, I would say that. So its lifetime would have to massively increase for fuel cells so that it can become competitive with normal forms of electricity generation. That's why I see the future is in grid support, because you do not need to use the fuel cells very often when you are using it as grid support, and that increases the amount of time that we can use it, let's say that.
Sure, makes sense. Looking a little further afield then and across the ASEAN region, where do you see hydrogen playing a significant role, say, in the next 10 to 20 years?
Well, my hope is that hydrogen, we will first start using it probably in the gas pipelines, because a lot of our pipelines are right now starting to be interconnected. Let's say we do have, for Thailand, we have pipelines running from Burma, from Malaysia and the south, from our joint gas areas.
Sure.
So hydrogen, in that case, if we can inject hydrogen into an inter-Asian pipeline, I would find that would be probably the most immediate effect that we can get right now. For using in transportation, I find that we as a group for ASEAN have to probably invest into a hydrogen infrastructure, and the best way is probably to slowly grow that infrastructure, let's say that.
Right, okay.
Yeah. To slowly grow it up. Basically, we probably would start with public transportation. I find that's probably the easiest one. With mass transportation, such as I heard in France they're using hydrogen trains right now. So for mass transportation, such as the subways or the other forms, we could probably use hydrogen to use it in some way. Use the hydrogen to produce electricity for the subways, which is one way to do it, or just get the subway cars to run on fuel cells. Either
Right.
way
Okay.
would work. I
Yeah.
think that's the easiest way to introduce a hydrogen infrastructure into the countries
Yeah.
that we
Yeah.
are that we have.
One question. You've mentioned the cost of hydrogen. Where do you see it coming from? Is it going to be generated in Thailand, or produced rather in Thailand, or will it be imported?
Hydrogen actually is produced on site by splitting water.
Yeah.
So uh, that's the cost of the hydrogen gas comes from the cost. Water is not expensive, but the cost comes from the electricity that we have to use to split it up.
Right.
So the cost of electricity depends on the cost of the renewable project.
Yeah.
How much if the price for renewables goes down, like solar has gone way low
Yeah.
right now, I find that the cost of hydrogen will go down more. The other cost that makes it more expensive compared to other fuels is the cost of investments. That's the cost of the equipment such as the electrolyzers used to split the water into hydrogen gas. That cost will eventually go down also. So possibly I see a point where hydrogen will become more affordable. Let's say that.
Okay. And so when we're talking about hydrogen being used more broadly, it will be produced in country. It won't be imported. I know
It
there
will
are
be produced in country, yes, of course.
interesting.
In in uh, in Thailand or other areas in Southeast Asia, I believe that the best way to produce hydrogen will be through solar,
Okay.
through solar energy, because we don't have a lot of wind energy. Unlike the project we are actually doing right now in EGAT, solar energy is more abundant. The cost has become almost right now is almost competitive to electrical energy, the price that we're getting from other fossil fuels, and will probably go lower. Let's say that with more economy of scale because of China and the other countries producing a lot of solar equipment.
Yeah.
So eventually, it will become very competitive. We will produce hydrogen from solar and probably use it more widespread in that case.
Yeah. Yeah.
Once the
Sure.
price goes down, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Dr. Yosapol, thank you. It's clear that hydrogen has potential, thanks to its ability to be used in diverse applications. However,
Yes.
it does seem that perhaps we're some way off seeing it playing a major role in the region's energy systems. Thank you so very much again for taking time to join us today
Thank you.
and share some insights into the role that EGAT sees for hydrogen and obviously the project that you're working on. We're really, really very grateful. Have a wonderful weekend.
You too. Have a good weekend. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.